Thank you. Welcome everybody to this evening's session, which is a presentation of the guidance Rescue at Sea, a joint publication produced by IMO, UNHCR and the International Chamber of Shipping. We are being live streamed through the IMO YouTube channel and we welcome followers online. The Rescue at Sea guidance has evolved through three major editions. The first version, released in 2006 by IMO and UNHCR, responded to incidents where rescued people were later identified as migrants or refugees, and it offered practical direction to masters and authorities on legal duties and rescue procedures. A second edition followed in 2015 as part of UNHCR's global initiative on protection at sea, updating and recirculating the guidance to reflect emerging protection needs. And today we're pleased to introduce the 2026 edition. Developed by UNHCR with consultation from IMO and ICS, it expands the guidance, strengthening content on refugee law, non-refoulement, human rights obligation, screening safeguards, definitions of distress and place of safety, and obligations under the smuggling and trafficking protocols. I'm pleased to introduce our panellists today, and we will then open the floor for questions. So our speakers today are Mr. Arsenio Dominguez, Secretary-General of IMO, in the middle, Ms. Elizabeth Tan, Director of the Division of International Protection of UNHCR, and Mr. Thomas Kazakos, Secretary-General of the International Chamber of Shipping. So I'm pleased to hand the floor first to the Secretary-General of IMO, Mr. Arsenio Dominguez.
Thank you, Natasha, and good afternoon to all. And of course, first, I would like to acknowledge the presence and the continuous partnership with UNHCR and ICS on this very important topic, and of course it's the third edition. When it comes to providing assistance to people in distress at sea, this is one of the oldest and most fundamental obligations, and is very much enshrined in one of the pillar conventions of these organizations, which is the Safety of Life at Sea Convention, as well as the Search and Rescue Conventions. And we all are aware of the risks of migrations and also the difficulties that sometimes the vessels have in providing this assistance, but they still do so. We're aware also of those very tragic incidents that happen at sea because of overloaded vessels, people that are not aware of the safety aspects of navigation and that are risking their lives for reasons beyond our control and sometimes even our understanding. So it has become very much a human tragedy that we've been dealing with and addressing at IMO, not only at the Maritime Safety Committee, but also in the legal committee of these organizations. We recognize annually the great efforts that Coast Guards, navies, search and rescue agencies, and merchant vessels carried out in order to provide this assistance. And equally, every year we issue certificates during the Bravery at Sea Awards ceremony because it also marks that important milestone, that this is not just something that it's embedded in the regulations of this organization, but something that is very much part of being a seafarer and the services that they provide to maintain shipping safe and secure, and that even includes assisting people in distress. This guidance is a joint publication, the three of us for the third time, and is there to help all partners to uphold the humanitarian and legal duties in rescuing refugees and migrants in distress. It's established legal obligations that must be translated into concrete actions at sea. And these revised guidelines ensure the clarity for governments and provide practical steps for ship masters and crews. I will encourage all stakeholders to make use of these guidelines, to promote them, and of course to bring back any experience in order for us, these three entities, three agencies, to continue to improve them in the future and keep them relevant, because these kind of situations will not disappear very quickly. It's not only mixed migration. There may be other challenges that geopolitics and the way that the world is right now that will force people as well to take those risks, and we need to be prepared to assist them in any circumstances. Thank you, Natasha.
Thank you. I'd now like to invite Ms. Elizabeth Tan, Director of the Division of International Protection of UNHCR.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Excellencies, distinguished representatives, partners from the maritime and shipping community. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to be here with IMO and ICS for the launch of this 2026 version of the Rescue Guide. Its release is especially meaningful for UNHCR because this year is the 75th anniversary of the 1951 Convention on Refugees, which reaffirms commitments to asylum and international protection. Yet the global context does remain troubling. Asylum seekers, refugees, and others under UNHCR's mandate continue to engage in dangerous sea journeys across the Mediterranean, the Caribbean, the Bay of Bengal, the Andaman Sea, and the Gulf of Aden, among others, fleeing conflict and persecution. Refugees travel alongside migrants seeking better opportunities, often relying on smugglers and facing risks of trafficking, exploitation, and death. But no one risks their life at sea or that of their family unless desperate to find safety and stability in the absence of safer pathways. Yet these appalling wrecks cannot be accepted as inevitable. In this context, rescue at sea is not an abstract concept. It's a life-saving act carried out every day by states, shipmasters, crews, and others. UNHCR safeguards refugees, asylum seekers, and stateless people worldwide, making protection at sea essential because dangerous maritime journeys expose them to the risk of drowning, as well as to trafficking, abuse, pushbacks, and denial of their fundamental rights to seek safety internationally. International law is clear. States must act together to rescue people at sea and guarantee safe disembarkation for all. Rescue at sea is inherently a collective endeavor. Shipmasters and crews remain at the heart of rescue and the duty and tradition that is passed through generations. Commercial ships continue to respond, often diverting course and taking on additional responsibility under growing pressure. Their commitment is key and it deserves recognition. The revised Rescue Guide is a practical tool to help uphold one of the clearest moral and legal duties at sea: to rescue refugees and migrants in distress and bring them to safety. It reflects the shared commitment of UNHCR, IMO, and the shipping sector, as well as humanitarian agencies, non-governmental organizations, to support states in their role as primary duty bearers to save lives at sea. The new edition of the Rescue Guide builds on previous editions by strengthening the integration of international human rights standards, by making reference to obligations under transnational criminal law, by expanding guidance on non-refoulement, and by clarifying key concepts and providing more comprehensive operational guidelines. On the occasion of the launch of this Rescue Guide, UNHCR would like to take the opportunity to stress a few key priorities for states, as well as other actors involved in rescue at sea. First, the value of effective cooperation and coordination in search and rescue. Where coordination mechanisms function well, rescue is timelier and more predictable. Second, remove political, legal, or operational obstacles that affect rescue. Measures that delay, deter, or penalize rescue efforts risk having serious consequences. Thirdly, adopt a precautionary and humanitarian approach to assessing distress. Experience across the sea routes has shown that restrictive interpretations may leave people without assistance until their situation deteriorates further. And finally, rescue cannot end with recovery at sea. Refugees and migrants rescued at sea must be disembarked in a place of safety, where their lives are no longer at risk, their basic needs are met, and their rights, including the right to seek asylum, are protected. Looking ahead then, UNHCR will launch a new global initiative to support collective efforts to reduce deaths at sea and promote protection-sensitive route-based responses across countries of origin, asylum, transit, and destination. The initiative reflects the recognition of seas as humanitarian spaces, a key takeaway of the UN Oceans Conference in 2025. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, the rescue guide is more than a technical reference. It's a call to action to continue to save lives. UNHCR therefore encourages the widest possible dissemination of this guide to shipmasters and crew, rescue coordination centers, port authorities, and policymakers. Familiarity with this guidance can save lives. Its true impact, however, will depend on its use. Let us ensure it reaches those in need, who need it, and helps translate our commitment into action. Thank you.
Thank you. And I now invite Mr. Thomas Kazakos, Secretary General of the International Chamber of Shipping.
Secretary General, Director Tan, Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is also a privilege for me to join IMO and UNHCR for the launch of the revised edition of Rescue at Sea, a guide to principles and practice in the context of refugee and migrant movements. On behalf of the International Chamber of Shipping, I would like to thank IMO and UNHCR for their continued partnership and commitment to one of the most important humanitarian obligations in global shipping, the duty to save life at sea. For seafarers, rescue is not an abstract principle. It is deeply rooted moral and legal responsibility. Every day, merchant ships operate across the world's oceans, carrying the goods that sustain the global economy. But when a distress call comes, commercial considerations disappear. The priority becomes human life. Over many years, merchant vessels and their crews have rescued tens of thousands of people in peril at sea, often in extreme, difficult, and dangerous circumstances. They do so professionally, compassionately, and frequently far beyond the expectations of normal commercial operations. The revised guide is therefore both timely and essential. The shipping industry strongly supports this updated guidance because clarity matters. Seafarers need confidence that when they act to save lives, they will be supported by effective coordination among states and by predictable arrangements for safe and prompt disembarkation. This publication also reminds us that rescue at sea is a shared responsibility. Ship owners and seafarers cannot shoulder this challenge alone. Effective international cooperation between flag states, coastal states, rescue coordination centers, international organizations, and humanitarian agencies remain absolutely essential. The long-standing cooperation between IMO, UNHCR, and ICS demonstrates what can be achieved when institutions work together for a common cause. We are proud to continue contributing to that effort. As we launch this revised edition today, let us reaffirm a simple but fundamental principle that preserving life at sea remains one of the noblest traditions of maritime history and one that the international community must continue to protect and strengthen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would just like to let everyone know that you will all be able to download the new guide from our respective websites, and we will also share widely the new guide. Are there any questions from the floor? I'm looking. Yes, please.
Thank you. Congratulations to IMO, ICS, and UNHCR for the publication of this new version of the Rescue at Sea guide. We, as Spain, as a long coastal state, and after having a long-standing expertise in conducting this search and rescue operation with refugees or migrants at sea involved, we would like to seek information about how we, as a member state, can be involved in future revision or updated exercise when it comes to release a new version of this guide. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and I think this is an excellent initiative. I think we welcome the participation of states in future versions, and I will most certainly, I think we will discuss, and maybe this will bring about a sooner update than 10 years, which is from the last one. But thank you very much. We welcome that.
Thank you.
On behalf of the industry as well, let me just welcome the offer and the initiative, because that's the only way forward in most of the cases that we have experienced through our members is where we need to reach to either coastal states to make sure that we have an alignment of cooperation, and this guide is exactly this, to give you the guidance as to what needs to be done in those cases. And don't forget that from the private industry, as we said before, this is an obligation that we see mostly as moral rather than legal. So knowing that we have states that they will also show the same responsibility in assisting us to disembark the people that we save at sea, it's a great encouragement for our people that they deviate from their day operations to do that. So more than welcome to have you on board, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I missed to highlight that for sure we will circulate properly internally the guide within our maritime administration and also within our maritime safety search and rescue agency. We will encourage them to have a look to the guide and have some feedback to share with you at the earliest opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions from the floor? I can't see. I just have a couple of questions as well. First of all, and you touched on this in your introductory remarks, but how does this guide actually innovate in terms of the previous one? And Ms. Tan, I think you touched on some of those details, but could you actually identify exactly what the difference is with this guide compared to the previous version? Thank you.
So I think based on feedback that we've received, we have in particular broadened the legal grounding of this updated guide. So there is a dedicated international human rights law section that clarifies states' duties. It also incorporates a new section on transnational criminal law, which was not there before, which covers smuggling and trafficking in persons in particular. The guide also provides more detailed treatment of non-refoulement, so not returning people or sending people to a place where their lives might be at risk. Operationally also, so that's on the kind of foundational legal principles. but also operationally it provides details and it strengthens the guidance on defining the concept of distress. It also gives more details on identifying a place of safety, as well as on how to conduct safe disembarkation. The guide also gives practical direction for authorities on screening, information sharing, avoiding harm, whilst also discussing data protection for individuals who are rescued. Overall, it's quite comprehensive, and we would welcome feedback on the new guide. And it's part of course, a more comprehensive approach. A rescue at sea is only one of the elements of protecting people who are on the move. So, yeah, thank you.
We echo everything that Director Tan said. I think for the industry perspective, where we have had cases of ships belonging to our members engage in rescue at sea, it's very important to see that we have a bit more clarity in the procedure, as well as the definitions used for the place of safety, as well as conducting disembarkation, because I'm sure I'm addressing states, you know, the difficulty for us that we do our duty and then we find ourselves engaging difficulties executing this. So it's good to see that there's a bit more clarity. In addition to that, there are some more guidelines as to what we, on behalf of the industry on board the ships, can do when it comes to the recommendations on practical preparedness measures, such as adequate life-saving equipment, onboard rescue and communication procedures, coordinating promptly with the rescue coordination centers, and documenting the incident. So it's a lot more clarity, and I would like publicly to thank the UNHCR for the cooperation we have developed over the years. Of course, IMO is always part of our family, and I hope we are part of theirs, in the sense that it's a very sensitive issue, but we want to continue applying this very old tradition for us to provide rescue at sea at people in distress. Thank you.
Thank you. And we had a very welcome intervention from Member State Spain, but Secretary General Dominguez, what role can IMO actually play in supporting masters and ship owners when they face potential disembarkation delays after fulfilling rescue obligations?
From our side, of course, is the enhanced engagement with the member states for implementation of IMO instruments. When we looked at these guidelines, they are linked to regulations, both on the SOLAS conventions as well as the Search and Rescue Convention. The Facilitation Committee can also play a very pivotal part in relation to the ship-to-port interface, as it has been mentioned. This is not something that is just on the activities that be taken on board by the ship, but at the same time, we need to look at the safe disembarkation and what happens next. That may be beyond the remit of IMO, but it doesn't mean that we don't have the opportunity to take some steps in order to maintain that engagement. That's where collaborations with UNHCR will be quite relevant. Equally, and this goes very much in line as well with what Spain mentioned and what Thomas from ICS was mentioning, we can create mechanisms at IMO in order to collect feedback and see what additional aspects we can contribute for the enhancement of this guide, taking into account that it is important to keep this as a flexible mechanism. I say that not to embed it within the lengthy processes and procedures that we have in the organization, but the collection of feedback in a very proactive manner would allow us to maintain this document up to date and equally gather the relevant experience from the users.
Anything further from the other panelists on that aspect? No, thank you. Do we have any further questions? Oh, sorry. Yes, please. Poland, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. It's maybe not a question, but rather a quite short remark, because very often the rescue and the let's say, the search and rescue team are not very emphasized or very much well promoted in the countries. So I believe that this Sea Guide support can support the governmental role as well in improving the search and rescue team in all the member states, in all the countries. So the safety coordination needs to be a little bit better guided, I believe. So I also believe that this promotion of the guide might be beneficial in all the member states, and can also show that this coordination action between all the offices and all the bodies, also on the governmental level, might be developed. So it's not a question, but also it might be a direction, also the future development of the guidance of this guide, that it might be also useful to improve a better coordination system within the public administration in all the countries. From my point of view and from my background, that sometimes in Poland it needs to be developed better. It may help. So it's fortunately added value for my state. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It seems there's a very welcome to the guide and the new details that it includes, and hopefully it can support, rescue at sea going forward and the safety of people who are in distress at sea. So are there any further additions that you'd like to add? Any more questions? Otherwise we'll Oh.
Thank you for acknowledging my card, and thank you for this presentation and to the panel. I really look forward to downloading the guide and reading it. So Italy as a coastal state also has, just like Spain, a long experience in search and rescue events involving migrant distress cases. And I took some notes of what you talked about. So you touched about how to assess the distress case and also how to identify the place of safety. Very interesting topics. So in your opinion, just to the panel, how could UNHCR or the IMO ensure that all parties involved apply this non-restrictive criteria to assess that a case is, a migrant case is a search and rescue event? First question. And the second one, we all know about the amendments to the Search and Rescue Convention, the 2004 amendments. And I was wondering, those amendments were related to place of safety, to the responsibilities of the states in their search and rescue region, and to coordination between states when there is a search and rescue event. I was wondering if, in your opinion, the ratification of those amendments could help in properly tackle this phenomenon. Thank you.
Let me start with the second one, because I think it's related to the implementation and how that kind of assists with ratification of the SAR Convention. The guide goes beyond just the SAR Convention, and that's why it's a tripartite approach. But it's on the experience of its implementation with probably the relevant parties, member states, and now I'm linking the comments earlier, could bring forward to IMO then in the process what will assist enhancing the SAR Convention. But again, taking into account that this is a guide that goes slightly beyond, because we are looking at what is the role of UNHCR when it comes to the humanitarian side, as well as when you looked into the disembarkation and the relationship with all those different entities. from our side, because we also distribute them and promote them, they will be part in relevant technical cooperation activities for the specific areas where it enhances, again, the areas where we expect member states to comply, or it helps them to comply with the SAR Convention. Now, the first question was a bit more in relation to, sorry, I missed part of the first question.
Distress at sea.
Can you repeat
So
the first
it was
question?
about, you touched about, probably in the new version of the guide, there is a part that helps in defining how to properly assess that a migrant case is also, also through humanitarian aspects. So maybe this part, so I was wondering what steps IMO or other organization could do to make sure that everyone apply this very interesting and more generally approach to assess cases.
Well, coming here to address all of you is a first step, and we're very grateful for the opportunity to come to your, to present to you. I think the recommendation by Poland of having discussions in the national context, in the European context, in the coordination mechanisms that are in place already. We are not experts, as it were, in rescue at sea, but we're happy to engage in the conversation. There are others who would be certainly the colleagues here on the panel, but there are experts in this. So I think having the conversation, and then very importantly, and I think that's why we're working in cooperation, is to learn from actual events. This is not something that's easily discussed without context. And then of course, very importantly, is that these issues are treated in a apolitical manner. So I think these are all a good start. And then, you know, there are mechanisms for enforcing. So certainly this requires the cooperation of states. So I would also kind of throw the question back at you in order to advise us what you feel, how we can be most useful to help drive this agenda forward. Because unfortunately, rescue is sometimes delayed. It's not because the shipmaster or the crew don't want to help, but they want to be sure that if they do help, there will be a positive outcome and that they will not be delayed or somehow find themselves in difficulties. So I think it's a combination of all these things, and it can only really be resolved through dialogue and through sharing of experiences, and we're happy to be part of that.
Although I think this question is addressed mostly to my co-panelist, again, let me just stress from the experience we have had in years that usually the first people on the spot are the commercial shipping representatives. And as Elizabeth said before, some of the times that we have seen the good intentions, because as I said, it's a moral thing first and then a legal responsibility, not a legal obligation, legal responsibility. And we have cases in the past where for non-alignment of interpretation of the legal definitions involved from adjacent or neighboring countries involved in the particular case, not only there were delays, but there were also financial problems, and sometimes we even have problems on board that the ships were not properly equipped to handle the number of people rescued at sea. So my short advice, if I may say that, is not just alignment, but also common interpretation of the basic principles of what is a safe place of disembark, what are the procedures for disembarking. And we're not passing the obligation to the governments, but these are the ones that they provide the rescue centers as well as the disembarkation centers, and we are only facilitated that. And again, alignment is good, but common interpretation and implementation is even better. Thank you.
Sorry. I think that was all the questions. I think they've shown a collective and commitment, responsibility towards people in distress at sea, and a sense that this guide will certainly help provide, you know, the means to achieve that and the practical tools to ensure that people are rescued when they are in distress at sea. And it's called a rescue guide, and it will be available on all our websites today, if not tomorrow, and it's available in the 6 languages: Arabic, Chinese, Russian, English, French and Spanish. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming.